welcome to ATI Pro Media. We've got Tommy Grisafi. He's in New York. He's got some pictures from the New York Stock Exchange. Brady's being a cowboy. He's doing cattle stuff, so you guys know what that means. You've got Connor Bridgman here today, and it means I can talk about whatever I want, right? I'm just kidding. We've got some good headlines, though. CPI data came out, a little bit unexpected numbers, not too far, pretty much in line. But the initial jobless claims was the big kind of shocker, if you wanted to say there was a shocker. Hurricane Milton hit last night, and so far it looks like maybe it wasn't the worst case scenario, is the quote I heard. And so we'll keep everyone there in our thoughts and prayers, and we'll see that. And last but not least, I want to talk a little ethanol today, right? We had some ethanol numbers, and they looked pretty good. And so with that, make sure to drop us a question, right? We've got a USDA report tomorrow. Anything you want us to talk about, you want me to talk about, pop it in there. It's a free for all for Thursday. And I think with that, let's go ahead and quote up these markets because they are moving. Take us there, Joe. And so first, we've got Dees corn down at $1.50. Soybeans, right? A little more rain in South America. It looks like we've got Nove 24 soybeans down 6 3/4. Chicago wheat is hanging in there, like it's up around 5 cents. KC wheat trading up as well. December KC wheat up 7. Hard red up 4 as well. Taking it over to cattle, we've got live cattle trending lower. Feeder cattle's down as well. Looks like I've got October feeders down around 55. Lean hogs working higher. Let's look at cotton. Cotton price trending lower as well. We've got cotton, December cotton at $72 a barrel. And so keeping it going. Let's check in at, let's look at some gold, silver prices. We've got gold, silver trending lower. Copper, hello, copper's up higher. As Tommy likes to say, Dr. Copper, we've got it trending higher. Looking at the S&P, right, on that jobless claim, we've got the S&P trending a little bit lower, down 38. What did I miss? Crude oil. Crude is trending higher. Nat gas down. December nat gas at 3. I think that's on a 2-week low. Joe, correct me if I'm wrong. Crude oil trending higher. With that, let's go ahead and jump right into the show. So markets moving all over. Let me get my corn, soybeans, wheat, because that's what I love to talk about. But with that, we've got the markets moving. Big one tomorrow. October WASDE is going to be out. We'll make sure to tune in. We're going live for that at 11. And then we'll also have the experts do a deeper dive. But that's going to be a big one, right? And I think it's going to be one, we could see a lot of different numbers, right? We could see the yield number come in maybe a little bit higher. We're going to debate a lot. My eyes are going to be on where are we going to see Russia wheat number? Where are we going to see Brazil, Argentina, right? It's going to be countries outside the U.S. Those are the numbers that I'm going to be interested to see, right? Especially when I'm looking at this wheat crop, I see corn, soybeans down significantly. Wheat is hanging in there, right? I think that's going to be on the back on how dry is this Russia, Ukraine wheat crop. And so numbers I'm going to be looking for, but we'll break that down later. So Joe, let's break down these headlines. Pop another one up. What we got first? CPI data came in at 0.2%, slightly above expectations of 0.1%. Year on year is 2.4%, slightly above headlines. But the big ones, I think, is going to be this jobless claim. So initial filing for unemployments took a turn higher, hitting 258,000 for the week ending October 5th. This is the highest total since August 5th of 2023. A gain of 33,000 from the previous week. So a little bit higher than expected. I want to say the CPI number, right, just looking at where we're going to try and gauge inflation, came in at that year on year at 2.4%, right? The Fed wants to see it at 2%. So we're pretty much staying in line, right? Come in after we saw those rate cuts. I was checking out where traders were going to make their bets, and they're still betting on an increase coming on that November 6th, November 7th policy meeting, looking at about 86% that the Fed would continue to lower rates. So CPI in line with expectations. That jobs number, right, got the Dow a little fired up. down a little bit, but not too far in line, pretty much in line with expectations. We'll see what the Fed does come November 6th, November 7th, if they continue to lower rates, right? We want to see that inflation rate at the 2%. Right? We definitely don't want it to jump up if they cut rates too early. So we'll be watching that. So moving right along, let's talk a little bit. Hurricane Milton. Here's a quote from Governor Ron DeSantis that I think sums it up very well. The storm was significant, but thankfully this was not the worst case scenario. It weakened before landfall. It started off in the Gulf. The talks were Category 5. By the time it hit landfall, it was a Category 3, and so we saw millions of people are without power. We saw a lot of tornadoes pick up as well in the Tampa, Sarasota region, but it looks like it maybe wasn't as bad, and we're not going to see the catastrophic flooding that we originally thought. So good to see. One thing I did see, Joe, pop that picture up of Tropicana Field. We're talking damage, right? Maybe it's not as bad as we thought, but we did see the top get ripped off of Tropicana Field. And so, that looks pretty damaging to me. Completely took the top off. That's where the Devil Rays play. So we did see that damage and see it. A question I got yesterday is when we're looking at the Midwest, right? How much of a disruptor could this Hurricane Milton be? And so when we talk rainfall, right, it really went west to east. I don't know if we're going to see any precipitation in the Midwest from this hurricane, but one thing we need to pay attention to is this fertilizer market, and this specifically the phosphate market. As much as 42% of ammonium phosphate is produced, right? About 40% of all phosphate fertilizer exports and 27% of total fertilizer exports go through Port Tampa Bay. And then on top of that, right, about 3/4 of North America's phosphate is produced in Florida. So when you start talking disruptor, I'm looking at the fertilizer market as probably the main point. And it really comes on the back where we don't need any more troubles with these input costs, right? The story last year is that if we see the commodity price drop, inputs typically follow, albeit a little bit slower. We're not necessarily seeing that, right? Especially on these nitrogen costs. We're looking at input costs for that 25 crop, very similar to where we started on the 24 crop. So, we don't need any more disruptors, and I think this is one. So if you're thinking about booking some inputs, check that phosphate market. Could be one that this hurricane significantly disrupts. So moving right along, let's look at, before we do that, I want to talk a little premium. And yesterday we had a great one. We had Brady Huck wanted to talk a little cattle. And so he wanted to talk looking at LRP and then also, right, looking at using some cattle options as well. So he does a great job of pairing those two together, right, putting a marketing plan that works. If we have LRP on, how can we enhance that LRP and then working with that? But I see him sitting down there. He's traveling right now. Let's go and pull him in. Brady, tell us about this premium. Give us your thoughts on this cattle market or anything else you want to talk to. Pull him in, Joe.
Yeah. Hey, Connor, there. Traveling. I'm taking a donor cow. If you want to know what I'm doing a little personal work here for the Huck Angus farm here, but taking a donor cow to Blue Stem Embryo Transfer Center in Abilene, Kansas. We're going to do some IVF collections and make some embryos to put in other cows and make more great ones, hopefully, or at least good ones. But that's where I'm headed today. Pretty neat process to be able to mass produce some of your best genetics. And that's the goal, I guess. But I've got an interesting co-pilot here, though, too. This is my semen tank. Got to take some semen up there to use for the IVF process. So. But yeah, yesterday's premium, a fun episode. Important. The cattle market's been moving, a lot of volatility in that market. If you have LRP, just really trying to highlight what we can do to enhance it and embrace market volatility as markets move. We've seen a $50 trading range in feeder cattle this year since January, and that creates opportunity. It can be stressful if you're not in control and you're not managing it, but wanted to highlight really what we can do. If you want a copy of that premium episode, sign up for ATI Pro Media Premium or send us a message and we'll get it to you.
Awesome. Well, good stuff. Well, safe travels. Thanks for jumping on, right? But yeah, good stuff. You stay safe. How far do you say you have to travel?
Well, out in the sticks out here in western Kansas, we got to go a long ways to get anywhere, but it's 3 hour drive. So,
3 hour drive. That's a Saturday, right? You ever see the comparison where you talk to a European? It's like, well, we went on a quick day trip. It was just 3 hours away. Well, that's three countries away for them. But yeah, I get it. So, all right. Well,
yeah,
good stuff.
good stuff.
So thanks, Brady.
You bet.
Speaking also on premium, right? Today, I think we're going to have Dr. Cesar Cruz, myself, Dr. Cruz, and then a producer in Brazil. His name was Giovanni. Talked a little bit about what his expectations were. Specifically, we talked about a lot of things, but really, how does he feel about this soybean crop, right? What was his expectation? So when you see that one come through, make sure to give it a watch, right? I think he gave some great insight and ones that I think we could really use as well, right? What's he looking at? How does the soybean crop then affect his second corn crop decisions? His operation, give you a little tidbit. They, of course, majority of their second crop is going to be corn. That's safrinha corn crop, but they're looking at some cotton acres too, right? Does that make more sense? And it's really going to depend on how fast the soybean crop goes in. So we'll have that one out today for you. Make sure to give it a watch. So with that, last topic I had, one that we don't talk about probably enough, given how important it is to this corn market, is going to be ethanol. And so we had some ethanol numbers come out, and we saw a big surge in ethanol exports, right? That really offset this thriving production. So I'll pop up some charts here for you because we saw that ethanol production's on a tear, right? We'll take it. But then kind of one that maybe we need to be a cheerleader for is looking at ethanol exports. But here we go. We just have daily production. And so as you can see, that black line, we're on the top end of the range, right? We're really chugging right along, but we didn't see stocks really jump up too significantly because we're in this really record ethanol export range. And so we will take it, right? It's good to see. And maybe one in the future, when we start talking about, biofuels, right? We start a lot of times when we're looking at threats to this core market is we're looking at the increasing use of EVs. But one I think that needs to be on the radar is maybe the continued adaption of biofuels of ethanol across the world, right? And ethanol, we talk a lot about corn exports and how important it is, right? Just because of the fluctuating number. Ethanol's 40% of our annual corn production, a little under 40% if we're being exact. But it's a big part of it. If we see any type of major reductions in ethanol use, it's really going to affect the corn market and corn acres in general, and it's going to affect your operation. So looking forward, right, I think there's there's a chance that we could really see maybe ethanol production ramp up. A big one we saw is going to be in India, right? The demand for corn-based ethanol in India, which has become the number one destination for U.S. ethanol, it's become strong that we've seen them become a net corn importer, okay? When we talk about China, we talk about these big population countries. If we see a country like India really adopt ethanol, right, that could be a good thing. And we'll see it, it's one that we're really going to hope for. And so ethanol really jumping up, right? We're seeing production ramp up, and we're seeing exports as well. So good to see. We'll keep being a cheerleader for it. And so I think with that, Joe, do we have any questions? We'll go ahead and wrap up the show. I didn't think I'd go 15 minutes. Oh, we had one more good point. Tommy Grisafi, he's at the New York Stock Exchange. He sent this picture. So awesome. Put the other one where he's in the building. So good to see. I think he's having a great time. He's in the New York Stock Exchange. One thing that really makes me laugh and remember where, we look at that building on the outside, one that's been there for 100+ years. But if I know Tommy Grisafi, he's checking the markets. Maybe he's even doing a little trading. He's in the New York Stock Exchange and he's trading the Chicago Board of Trade. So always, it's amazing how much it changed. The brick and mortar buildings, especially when we talk Chicago Board of Trade, not what they used to be, but talk about a cool trip. So I think he'll be back tomorrow. He'll tell us all about it. So With that, Joe, we got any questions? You want to pop them up if we got any? So he's saying no questions. We'll go ahead and wrap it up. So when we're looking forward, make sure we're going to be talking about it a lot. USDA report tomorrow. The WASDE is going to be out. And so it's coinciding, right? This October WASDE goes right hand in hand. We're probably, especially if you're an Illinois producer, you're wrapping up soybean harvest. Maybe we're really ramping up corn harvest. This report needs to be on your radar, right? If you're looking at making some marketing decisions, whether that's it's time to be making some sales because we know grain's going to town. This is a big one. It needs to be on your radar. We'll be going live for it. We'll update you with numbers we're looking at tomorrow. And so with that, we'll have Brady and Tommy back again tomorrow. So I think with that, we'll also tell everyone have a great day, and we'll see everyone Friday. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us. We're here every day, 9 a.m. Central. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.